What's going on, everybody? We are back again to talk about some more manga. Today we're doing things a little bit differently. Today we're going to do a let's review, and we're using this setup that I had in my first impressions video. I want to start using this setup a little bit more. I'm going to interchange it a bit so I'm not just always, on that side of everything. I feel like it'll be a nice way to, open up the videos a bit more so you don't just see the same background, and so you can also see the other manga that I have on this side of things. At some point, I'm going to organize all of these things so that it'll be in alphabetical order, or at least like in creator order. I want to at least have like all of my creator stuff together, so maybe that's something I'll do at some point in the future. Maybe I'll even record myself doing it as content, if you guys want, if that's something you guys would be interested in watching. What we're talking about today is Die Dark Volume 5. This is one of my favorite series running right now. I've done, I think, like 3 videos on the series at this point. I did a Let's Talk About Why You Should Read, and I did Let's Review Volume 4. And now we're going to do Let's Review Volume 5. The previously on Die Dark section at the beginning of the manga is super helpful, given it's almost a year-long wait between volumes. Still, it is always great to be able to pick up a new volume of this series and dive right into the shenanigans of the four little shits. This time around, they go to Darkness to get Misatani to fix a Vakian after their run-in with the Lighthead Order's secret weapon, the Photo-Nuclear Man, Magma Raidon. While on Darknest, Zaha and Moja end up working for Misatani to pay off a debt. They have time to kill, after all, as they're waiting for Avakian to be fixed. Avakian is nearly bludgeoned to death by Magma Raiden, or as I like to call him, Bizarro World Adam Warlock. I mean, the guy was incubated in a giant egg by the Lighthead Order's shepherd, Big Sparkles. The Lighthead Order sacrifices tons of its own people for their experiments in trying to make the perfect being to take out the four little shits: Zaha, Avakian, Shima the Death, and Hajime Damemaru, who longs to be called Hellmaster. This plan, as of the last volume, works perfectly for Photosphere, who will take out the Lighthead Order once they essentially use up all their followers. It's just business, right? They are a corporation, after all. The upside to working for Misatani, selling this udon-like food called manju, is that Moja gets a pretty thorough look at her wares and what they retail at. It gives Zaha a pretty clear picture of how much he would need to scrounge for his next weapon upgrade. With Hajime Damemaru out of commission, it all falls on Zaha to carry the load, as Shima the Death is essentially only along for the ride. She will not lift a finger to do squat, but kill for her own enjoyment. Damemaru, or Hellmaster, is currently in the form of a giant slug-like creature called a Shadow. His Pagi Nagarun essentially has no purpose without a wearer and sits sullenly in a corner. Shima the Death hatches a plan to go into Damemaru's inner world, or his consciousness. Since they're already on Darkness, they can use the corpse of a now lifeless giant humanoid being called Dasma to accomplish this feat. The giant was once said to possess incredible magical prowess. The gang ends up atop Dasma's brain, where tendrils sprout from said brain and wrap around Damemaru's shadow form, enveloping him. The tendrils are called Cairo Neurometer and effectively search within Damemaru's consciousness to see if there is anything left in there for them to probe. Once the search is complete, the brain opens up and allows for entry. However, only living beings may enter, so that means Nagarun, Avakian, and Moja are out. Only Zaha and Shimada may enter the space. Nice play here by Kyu Hayashida, going into this giant brain to essentially pick at and probe Damemaru's brain. Zaha and Shimada go into the shadow world to find Damimaru and are greeted with what looks like wavelengths. Only they're super distorted, like a guitar run through a heavy metal distortion pedal. Soon Nagarun joins them, acting on its own recognizance. It feels like things are gonna really start to get freaky now, with Nagarun telling Zaha and Shimada that it will call Damimaru's real name. And right beside Nagarun stands a white sort of aura, like a spirit. Not long after, Damimaru comes back to life, bursting out of the giant brain. I hope this one day gets the anime treatment, though who knows given how well it went with Dorohedoro and it never even getting a season 2. They soon end up on Cafe Lightless, where their server is a giant earthworm who is cooking below ground while simultaneously taking their order above ground. That was kind of random, but also pretty funny. Shimada grills Damimaru, figuratively, of course, asking him who or what he really is, even threatening to kill him if he lies. Given no other choice, he spills. It is discovered that Nagarun isn't any mere Paggy, but a living being that was somehow fused with a Paggy by Damimaru himself. He decrypts a file the Lighthead Order had and pulls up info on something called Zolar. Within the Zolar file, he also finds a heap of info on Zaha, and this was before they ever even met. They're also given the reason Photosphere is after him. He has several patented inventions that they wanted to buy off him and he refused to sell. Damimaru also mentions having the ability to control people, which he has exercised in the previous volume, where he briefly took control of Zaha. So far, Volume 5 has been pretty Damimaru-centric. Nagarun is even on the cover. While all this is going on, the Lighthead Order is sacrificing more and more of its people to bring Magma Raiden, the photonuclear man, back to full potency. Big Sparkles is also there, as observed by a spy dressed as a member of the Lighthead Order. This time, however, Big Sparkles, dissatisfied with Raiden's performance, decides to make even more photonuclear men. At this point, they will actually run out of people like Photosphere imagined they would. The spy that infiltrated the Lighthead Order base was a Photosphere plant called a spy photobot. For whatever reason, I thought it was Shimada under the guise. The spy photobot reveals to the heads of Photosphere what the Lighthead Order is planning and how they want to create more photonuclear men. However, the plan proceeds as is. Wait for the Lighthead Order to exhaust all its resources and then swoop in to take it all for themselves. Meanwhile, back at the Lighthead Order camp, Magma Raiden wants to turn his grandson into a photonuclear man. He speaks of an accident that befell the young boy, which made all the bones in his body disappear. He presents his grandson, Hinata Bogo, in a large lidded jar, organs floating in a liquid substance. I will perpetually give Kyu Hayashi the props on her incredible imagination. We end up back on the Trigun, where Hinata Bogo and his friends / cronies are telling the other kids aboard about how hundreds of years ago there were human teachers, but trapped on the ship in the infinite expanse of space, no outlet, they all went crazy and killed each other. Just behind where he and his friends are standing is a sealed off sector of the Trigun, but they have the security key needed to enter. The boys take Zaha, who while aboard the ship goes by the alias Meatball Spaghetti, into the sealed off sector. Hinata still wants Vakian, and he also seems to think he has a chance with Shimada if Zaha were to be taken out of the picture. They lock Zaha in a storeroom overnight, thinking he has the same fear of ghosts they do after they tell the story of the teachers that killed each other. Little do they realize, though, that Zaha would love to see a ghost. And that he does. Kind of. Only it turns out to not be a ghost after all, but Shimada using an invisibility cloak and carrying the corpse of a dead pirate whose ship had attacked the tree gun. While Hinata and his friends are out cold, Avakian suggests pilfering the security key. That's as far as that goes, as we're taken back to the present day. Damimaru sees Shimada out of the suit and realizes she's actually really hot, or I think he didn't even know that she was a girl. That part was hilarious, as they all make fun of him for turning beet red. It also reminded me of Noi from Dorohedoro, who when we first meet her, she's wearing a luchador mask, and her overall physique is super masculine. Then she pulls the mask off to reveal long, silver hair and a pretty face. Damimaru does come through, though, in getting them access to the Lighthead Order's allied planet, Kenzarn. They hope to find more info on Zolar while there, in the Kenzarn Central Temple. It's nice to see the world open up, giving us a view into more locations this volume. Plus, Shimada kind of looks like Power from Chainsaw Man in the form she's taken while incognito. The luminary of planet Kenzarn, who looks like a prairie dog, is told he will become a photonuclear man by the great luminary, his superior, and his first task is to kill Magma Raiden, who shamed the great luminary previously. While taking the tour of the Kenzarn Central Temple, Zaha and Damimaru are asked to remove their paggies. Then Damimaru is herded into a chamber where he is obliterated and his remains are split into several jars. One of the luminary's cronies throws Shimada into the chamber next, and her expression here is priceless, like she couldn't give any less of a shit. Zaha springs into action along with Avakian, but it snap cuts to Magma Raiden. He awakens his grandson as a photonuclear man, and the first words out of Hinata's mouth are meatball, spaghetti. December feels so far away, but I am excited to see where this will go and how it will all pan out. The clash between Zaha and his old bully is inevitable. Also really want to see how Damimaru will come back to life this time. The thought has been on my mind, wondering if and when the gang will take on Big Sparkles. Guess we'll have to wait until Volume 6 to find out. I just want to say a quick thank you to everybody that's hung around. We are like super duper close to 600 subs as of the making of this video. I think I'm like 19 subs away from hitting 600, which is a pretty huge number. It would be cool, in the next year or so to hit 1,000 subs and to be able to partner. My watch hours are pretty high and they're always climbing, and that's something that means a lot to me, that people are watching. I hope that, when I'm making these videos, that I'm making something that people want to watch. And I always like to talk about things that I want to read. And as long as these keep dropping, I'll keep doing lots of reviews about them. This series has been one of the biggest flagship things on this channel. Talking about Die Dark is one of my most watched videos, if not, yeah, it's my second most watched video on the channel. Yeah, I love this series. I'm going to keep making videos about it, and I'm always going to keep dropping new stuff because I know that there's definitely people that like watching these, and it definitely makes me feel more inclined to drop more of them and to keep, the conversation going. And I'm glad there's people that want to join in the conversation. And if you've read Die Dark, if you've read this volume, I hope that you have. If you watch this whole review, I hope that you have read this volume. But if you're just watching it just for the sake of watching one of my videos, just to support, that really does mean a lot to me too. But I'm really excited to see what's going to happen next with Die Dark, what's going to go on in Volume 6, and like I said in my review, I'm wondering if they're going to end up fighting, Big Sparkles, or what's going to happen with that. I have a feeling they may end up fighting Big Sparkles, if not Shimada Death or something will fight that dude, and then Zaha is going to, I guess, fight his old nemesis, from when they were on the tree gun as kids. That dude's going to be a photonuclear man, so that's going to be an interesting thing to see in Volume 6 and see how that plays out. I mean, if it plays out anything like the first time around with the first Photo Nuclear Man, where they got pretty roughed up because Shimada Death like doesn't get involved at all and doesn't really care at all. But I love Shimada Death. I plan on getting a Shimada Death tattoo on my leg at some point. I know I'm gonna get a panel from this manga that I'm not gonna show you because it's kind of adult. It is kind of adult, and I don't wanna show it to you unless I censor it or something. But yeah, dude, I'm gonna keep reading the series as long as these volumes keep dropping. It just sucks that it takes like almost a year in between volumes. The next volume isn't gonna drop until like December, I think, of this year, or November. I can't remember when exactly, but yeah, I love Kyu Hayashi's artwork from like reading Dorohedoro like years ago. I think almost like 10 years ago at this point. I started reading Dorohedoro. I used to read it at work at night because I used to work a night shift, and on my lunch break, which was at like 11 o'clock at night, I would sit down for like my half hour and just read Dorohedoro, and I read so much of it, dude. I read like the first 11 volumes worth of Dorohedoro just reading it on like scan sites, and then later on, you know, when I started getting into collecting manga, I collected all of Dorohedoro, so I own all of Dorohedoro. I'm going to start it back over at some point and just go through all of it and read all of it again, just to finally finish it, because I haven't finished it, and it's a shame, because it's one of my favorite series that I've ever consumed. And yeah, I love Kyu Hayashi, that I love her artwork, and I'm going to keep supporting everything that she does into the future. And I don't know how long, you know, Die Dark is going to run for, but as long as it goes on, I'm going to keep collecting it. So I'm going to say thank you so much for hanging out with me. It has been a pleasure as always to spend time with you all. Please take care of yourselves. I hope that you are doing well. I hope everyone in your life is also doing well. Until next time that we meet. They lock Zaha in a room overnight to stew, thinking he has the same fear of ghosts they do after telling the story of the teachers. Little did they realize, fuck it.
By the hands of God, I stand as a wrench between your wheeling cog, fastening my belt, bracing myself to withstand against all odds. Himself shadow runners, battle ready, murder dogs, rip the skin off your horses, triumph to smash the sorceress, lethal forces. The failure of your ambitions is more painful than divorces. Smash its own piece on the doorway, when the door hits, that's it. Call it quits, zipped up in plastic, cremated, melted like elastic. Dreams don't mean shit in this life, they don't exist.